First of all, we want to thank the Apple Store for having us and thank all of you guys for coming out tonight. It really means a lot. And yeah, so Christene and I wrote a book. It came out yesterday. We're really excited.
It's a book with words in it.
It has words in it and pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I have to move my chair because I can't see anybody. I'm sorry. There we go.
Can you see?
You're blinded by the glory.
That's good. Sorry.
Yeah, so when we, when Christene and I started Refinery29 with our partners, Philip and Justin, we felt like the voice of fashion was very prescriptive. It was very top-down, and we knew from our own experience that, style was an evolution and really about self-expression, and the two of us have gone through so many different iterations of how we dress and, made some questionable choices in the meantime and are definitely,
Some more embarrassing than others.
And definitely feel like it's been, a journey and something that has gone through different phases and has been also a journey of kind of finding ourselves in self-expression. So when we started the site, we really wanted to take a much more conversational tone and talk about, personal style and expression and having fun with fashion. So that's really why we decided to create this book. And, a lot of what inspired us, too, was the women that we met along the way, different people in the industry. Yeah, these guys. Different people in the industry who were really fearless and kind of challenged the conventions with how they dressed and the way that they talked about style. And that's why we chose these guys. They're, all incredible luminaries within the industry, but also people that are in this book.
We have jobs.
And on the cover. Mm-hmm. And on the cover of the book.
We have a cover star in our midst.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
First and only time.
So the other thing we wanted to talk about, too, is sort of the root of the book is really wanting to create a really comprehensive resource for great outfit ideas, because obviously all of us face innumerable getting dressed challenges every day, whether it's just for work or an interview or a rainy, crappy day like it is today, let alone these really fancy occasions where we really have to kind of turn
bring
it up. Yeah, exactly, bring it. So I would love to start with Laura.
Hi, honey.
Hi. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm working this new hot look, by the way. It's called the soggy trouser. You can take the sogginess almost, a half a foot up your pants if you really work it. So that's my tip.
So you're the executive editor of Harper's Bazaar.
Yeah.
Obviously, a certain kind of expectation comes from that in terms of dressing the part. You have a lot of events that you go to. Your Instagram, which is
exhausting.
It seems a little exhausting, but what are some of the basic challenges that you face every morning when you're thinking about getting dressed?
I think when you've worked in magazines for a long time, I think you guys will understand this. There's this sort of understanding that you have an understanding, if that makes sense. I could wear jeans every day, you know what I mean? But it's I'm going to wear jeans with a certain heel, or I'm going to wear a cool sweatshirt, or all that sort of stuff. So there's sort of a given references that we all look at in our business, So if you're going to wear your jeans, it's going to be hopefully in a sort of artful fashion. So my go-to is, if I could wear this every day, I would wear jeans and a sweatshirt every day. But we have to go to events and do black tie, and then I borrow things from people, which is, I always say this, it's a myth that fashion people just get given all these clothes and can buy all these clothes. We borrow. Thank God we have friends. And we sort of, you go and you're kind of fashion dragged to these sort of things. I don't dress like that day to day. There's girls that do dresses and skirts better than I ever will. So my challenge, I guess, is, I've been at my job long enough that you earn also, I think, a certain sense of command, and you also settle into your style. So this is sort of my jam, and I stick to it. But if I have to go to an event, that's when I'm always like, oh, God. So that's the thing. And other girls, it'd be so easy to wear a nice dress, and jeans are a challenge. So that's my thing.
Hi, guys. I'm Aya, and I would say I have different uniforms for the different scenarios that I find myself getting involved in based on my job. Normally, if I'm going to a client meeting where I need to not show up like a wet dog, I usually try to keep it together and make sure that I look really professional and clean, and normally I'm wearing black. I would say when I'm on set doing photo shoots, which is a big part of my working life, whether it's with celebrity cover shoots or fashion stories, I'll be dressed like this in the most comfortable way possible because
You can't do a cover shoot in heels.
Exactly.
You can't.
Being a stylist is a really physically demanding job. You are, dragging around racks of clothes. You're handling like armfuls of shoes and accessories, and you can't be too prissy. I don't know, that's not the right word,
Precious.
but you can't be too precious about it. And if anyone that is assisting me shows up wearing heels, they will not be working with me again, mainly just because it requires being a little bit more mobile than one might imagine. And then I don't know. I don't go to as many black tie events maybe as you, so I don't have a black tie
I try not
look.
to go to many.
Well, one of the things I wanted to just sort of ask Preetma too is that Preetma's on the cover of our book. We have had the pleasure of sort of knowing Preetma for a while. And what's exciting about her, too, is that, we met her at an event. At the time, she was an attorney. And obviously, we got to know each other. And she really had a passion for fashion and style and expressing herself through what she was wearing. And, it was a real conflict for her in her former job. And she really wanted to break into fashion. And I think that what's so exciting about her, too, is that, moving into the fashion industry is kind of like unleash this whole transformation in you. Like, she is no longer a lawyer. She's now the market director at Nylon Magazine. She has green hair. She's a drummer in a band called Vomit Face.
Just getting less
She lives in Jersey
as I get
City.
older.
She's like all about sort of like, breaking conventions. But tell us about that sort of particular journey and that kind of real departure, that kind of, transition that you really wanted to make, and you struggled with it.
I did. I mean, it's hard to make any kind of change, whether it's career or, personal, like breaking up with a boyfriend, whatever it is. It's hard. And you have to take risks, and you don't know what's going to happen at the end of it. And, everything, there are consequences to everything. They're good and bad. So was everything great changing careers? No. Like, it was really hard. It's still hard. I obviously, gave up a lot of financial security. I have to worry about my bills now all the time. But I also, I'm not crying every day and locking my door to my office and, hoping nobody comes and, talks to me. So it's just, you have to prioritize what is important to you. And it's, whatever it is, it's fine. If it's people in your life, that's fine. You don't have to give everything to your job. If it is your job, you can do that. If it's being creative, go for that. But if you really do just, clocking into work and going home and that's it, that's fine. So you just have to decide what's right for you, and the struggle isn't so hard then, and the transition isn't so hard if you just make yourself happy first, and then everything else kind of.
But you've also established a reputation for kind of being this sort of, pioneer in street style too. I know it was unintended,
right?
But
the
but
green. I want to know about the green. When did you go green? The day you left your job?
It's a really mundane story. Why I went green.
What happened? You fell into slime?
She's the Incredible Hulk.
It's really fashiony. I mean, I just can't highlight my hair. It turns orange. So I'd always want it to be greener so it wouldn't turn orange. And then I found a stylist who was like, how about just going green? I said, okay.
Touche.
Let's do it. But I guess it's that kind of lack of kind of self-consciousness and willingness to take risks. If it looked bad, I know people probably think it looks bad, but I like it. But if I didn't like it, you can change it. And even bigger risks, like changing careers, I mean, you can make a change back, and you can have a fallback plan if it doesn't work out. You can't predict what happens in your life, but if you never take the risks, I mean, you're never going to fulfill your potential. And nothing is, permanent or static. So, try it. It might not work out, but that's not the end of the world. You grow, you learn, and I think that's the most important thing. Trying. The process is the important part.
So much deeper than street style. We're really
and she's
getting into the heart of the matter.
But that's,
Kiara, let's bring it back.
Well, no, I mean, I think that
let's go back to fashion.
I think the book is actually deeper than street style. It's so much, again, about expression and about risk taking and about kind of pushing yourself into a zone that's maybe not comfortable. I'd be curious to hear about from you guys, risks that you've taken, either in dressing or in life that have paid off?
I think back to me. No, were you even asking me? Because I'm just talking. I think it's not a risk, but I think it's interesting. There's two ways you can be risky from the start, but I think I've been doing my job for a long time. I've always been sort of jazzy, and I've always gone up to people and talked to them, and that's done well for me. I also feel sometimes you earn your risk, especially in fashion. If you've been in it for a long time and you've sort of earned your stripes and you know your designers and whatever, and then it sort of frees you up to, like, for example, Karl Lagerfeld, I can't stop grabbing him. Like, whenever I see Carl, I grab him.
He's your boyfriend.
He's like my human photo booth. He's like my boyfriend. And when I was like 18 years old or 20 years old, and like somebody said to me one day, you're just been like grabbing this poor man and going, ah, you know what I mean? But I have worked in magazines for 20 years.
Though. He's sturdy.
He's dreamy. But, I've been doing that for a long time. And my currency, after a while, I think you develop your own currency. And I'm the girl in fashion who knows what I'm doing and helps run a magazine, but I'm also sort of funny and eat my dinner and have a wine. And I think that's how people respond to me, and that's what's helped me about. And I think that's where you sort of end up finding kind of your jam. And there's people that would be like, oh, do I need to wear all Celine because I'm working at Harper's Bazaar and I need to... And it's like, but if you have confidence in something that you've earned or gained or that you just know you look better in jeans than anything else, that's the way to go.
And I think that's just jumping off from what you said, like one of the most positive things about not just the Style Stalking book, but Refinery29 in general, is that they are not prescriptive about what brands you need to be wearing or what trends you need to be wearing. It is, as Piera was just saying, it is about offering their readers just the breadth of the options that are out there. And as I was telling Christene when we were in Milan, I was like, I actually read the whole site. Like, I read all the posts. And so you kind of, when you are participating in the kind of editorial that they create, you are getting the widest breadth of what the style possibilities are out there. And now as the site grows, like more lifestyle content, and it's about their point of view. It's not about, as Laura is saying, like it needs to be a $2,000 handbag or it needs to be Celine or whatever. That's not their take on things. There are other sites that have that take on things, and that's great for them.
Yeah.
And when it comes to this book, there has been, we're very excited to hear your questions, but one of the things that I wanted to highlight about it is that there has been this whole evolution of street style books, which I think began with Fruits, which also had...
I really thought you were talking about actual fruit. Sorry, go on.
No,
Fruits
was a book of, which if you don't own it, you really should. It's still awesome. Which was a book that documented the Japanese street style in Harajuku in like the late 90s, early aughts. And it also wasn't, it still exists, and it has like 18 volumes, I'm sure, of additional content. But that too wasn't about brands. It was about people expressing themselves. And what Christene and Piera have done is taken a street style book motif, which is normally a kind of a glorified picture book, but given each kind of way of dressing and each expression a little bit more of an editorial shape so that you can use it and take what you like and leave what you don't.
And it's easy to put on all the labels that you feel like you should put on, and I'm sure we'll get into this because we've got so many opinions on street style and those who have currency and those who don't. But it's like there's a broader world out there. There's a certain interest that you obviously super dig denim. So do I. You know what I mean? And that's how we're always going to be. Damn it.
Thank you. We're going to send you on the rest of our book tour in our place.
Really?
Yeah.
We didn't pay her to say that, but that was really lovely.
Well, it's the truth, because street style books are a category now. It's a type of book that, you'll see it at like those stand-up tables at Urban Outfitters or whatever it is where certain kind of books that have great images are featured. But what this book does not only introduces you to really cool personalities, and I'm not just saying that because I was very lucky to be in it, but it's more like you get to meet people, you get to see people who have a unique take on things, you get to see people deconstruct their outfits and show it to you in a different way. So it's it's like street style and more. That's
And more.
and more. It really
More.
is.
So, Aya, you
Forgot the question.
You're at Cosmo now, and obviously you reach such a huge, 30 million women. How do you think about kind of talking to women about fashion? What do you think is important for women to think about when they're getting dressed?
I think that it's funny that you should ask this because I'm sitting here with Preetma, and she and I were chatting before we came on stage, and I was asking her about her new job at Nylon, which is where I used to work. And I think that as my own career has evolved, I think when I worked at Nylon, I had this real sense that like I was the brand. Now I work at a very mass, a more like corporate magazine environment where I recognize that there is a reader that I'm serving, but I don't consider myself that person, and that's been okay for me. Like the cosmopolitan aesthetic is like a little bit more sexy
I've
than
seen your new cover, and by the way, you killed it. That woman's
Emily Ratajkowski. Yeah, that was a lot going on.
My boss Glenda, we were doing this. Sorry to interrupt, but we did this, a mag front thing. We're on the same company.
Yes.
These magazines present their covers for their initiatives for the next year, and Glenda looked at that cover and she went, "Oh, that's a good cover."
Oh, that's so sweet. And I feel like I have won as a stylist when I'm able to create an image that is like referential in some way or is saying more than just clothes, or in the Cosmo point of view, like saying more than just like sexy hot girl. And what Laura is referring to is this cover that we have out right now with Emily Ratajkowski from Gone Girl, where she's just kind of almost looks like a 70s like...
What video clip she was from? Blurred Lines. She was the bouncy one, I guess is the term. She's very nice, actually, and bloody beautiful.
She's
but it was
a good one.
It was actually very fashion. So they took the it girl. I'm now we're doing ads for each other up the line. You see what we're doing? But it was really 70s, sort of high waist jeans, great denim shirt, belt. But of course, the shirt was like whoa. But we actually took that sort of fashion motif and made it a bit broader, and that's what we try to do. And also, you can't go wrong with jeans and a denim shirt ever.
Yeah, and I think that when I work at a magazine that is like sold at Target and at the grocery store checkout line, so I need to make sure when I'm doing my job that I am producing images that aren't exclusively for the eyeballs of fashion people like us sitting here or you guys who are clearly passionate about fashion. Like, it has to be for more than just our little micro audience. So that's what's interesting about my current...
Can I ask down here? Because I want to know about the market at Nylon. Yes. Because Nylon, I always read it because, again, I'm like old. But, I read it and go, oh, God, those jeans are really good. And so how is doing that sort of informed your style, and how much of that stuff do you see?
This is my third week, so I don't know if there's much change yet. But, just whatever magazine I have worked at or whatever fashion project I'm working on, I think I try to look at it through a lens of empowering whatever that reader is. You have to think about who the audience is. It's not for you. It's not for your best friend. It's for the person that you're targeting with a magazine. And a good magazine has, a coherent vision about who they want to read it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's good, and you can edit in a great way then. But I think it should still be about empowering that type of person and have them be the best version of themselves that they can be. And even if there's service articles saying how to wear this or that, I just hope people take that as a recommendation just to experiment with it and work it into their own lives. So when I'm doing anything, and I think Nylon's even a better place to do that because it is so free. You're allowed to experiment there. It's not as corporate or hierarchical. So it's really great because the content you can put in there can really convey that sense. And I think readers should take it that way, too. You shouldn't take it as a Bible, even if it says how to do this. Even if it says you don't have to take it literally. Just have fun with it and maybe take, that one, cut of pant from that, or that one, button-up shirt, or that one trench that has a cool detail. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. You don't have to dress in all one label or one look or, you know, a look that's been presented to you. It's just to get inspiration and go from there and kind of...
Unless you get a really good discount, then maybe you should do a one.
I think
if it's on sale, then it's
on sale fine.
Well, in terms of experimentation, like for me, like when I was a teenager, I got really into shopping at this one thrift store, and I bought an Amish bonnet, like a '60s mod coat, and these disco boots, and I like to wear that all together.
Yeah.
Yes, all at once. I'd be curious, you know, I know Christine and I have seen each other through many style evolutions, although she didn't get to witness that one, unfortunately.
I wish.
You know,
Did the Amish bonnet get all the boys?
It got all the girls.
Well, I love that. I mean, in a magazine, it has to be a little more coherent when you present an idea, but real life doesn't have to be. And I think that's something people are losing with maybe being so image conscious, like with the internet and putting yourself out there. I mean, you don't have to look like an editorial, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't make sense necessarily. Like, you can like things that seem disparate, and you can still be like I think that actually makes you an interesting person. You don't have to just be the uptown girl or the downtown girl or this or that. I mean, it's great to look to those tropes to, like, if you want, like, an element of it. Like, if you're feeling like a little prudish, put on your Amish bonnet.
Put
but
on
then
your
you're
bonnet,
like
girls.
a little disco-y too, and put on your sparkly boots.
Don't you notice that, like,
But-
some of these street style people now, and it's this calculated
Right.
Well, I wanted to mention.
weirdness,
style.
I wanted
and
to
you're
mention
like,
something
you
about
so
street
rehearsed
style.
that for weeks. Sorry.
No. I wanted to mention something about street style because I think it's obviously a big part of the book. A lot of the imagery, most of the imagery in the book was drawn from, you know, photography that we'd taken during Fashion Week, and street style is like such an enormous sort of, like, you know, global phenomenon now. It's a business. But what I think is wonderful about it, which I think in some ways we've sort of, you know, we've lost this, you know, sort of essence, is that it's really about expressing yourself, and it's about celebrating all of the weird and wonderful things you like to wear that just, you know, appeal to you. But I would love to ask one of you, whoever wants to respond, just like, you know, what do you think some of the, you know, advantages or disadvantages of street style? Because it is really predictable now. We just got back from, you know, I just got back from Europe, and it's intense. It is like, literally, it's like going to war, because being outside those shows, and you've been there, I mean, it's like, it's really, there's just,
Well, someone's
there is
gonna
like,
get
it's like
squashed.
Beyonce is arriving at a show. There is like a pack of paparazzi and street style photographers. It's just so overwhelming.
We're
And I
running
think it
in
does put a lot
traffic.
of pressure on you, not just for people that have to go to shows to report on them and to obviously bring, you know, information back to their, you know, respective magazines or websites, but people, you know, like you, who are just interested in looking at what people are wearing. It's not necessarily always realistic, and I think that's the bummer about it.
I was really of two small thoughts, very small thoughts. It really lost me when I only have small thoughts. Tiny thoughts. I was at a Valentino show a couple of years ago, and it really lost me. There was a girl in a borrowed Valentino dress, and she was in the Tuileries in Paris, and she was just twirling. She was twirling and twirling for these assembled photographers. She was just turning around. It was all staged, and I was like, oh, for God's sake. But I just, that was sort
Did
of
you
like
photobomb her?
the apex. No, I couldn't. I just went, because that would normally be my desire, but I had no. But what I do now, I call them triple S's, street style star friends. One of them is Yasmin Sewell, who is a very groovy girl. Joe Hillman, who I work with. All of these guys. And now when I go to a show with them, I just go with it, because there's these hordes of people. And so I yell at the photographers, I go, over here, everybody, Yasmin Sewell, everybody. And my friends hate me, but they all come running. And I'm like, because if you're just going to, that's what they want. You may as well just own up to the fact that this is completely ridiculous. And there's a horde. And so just get your picture done and we can all get on with our lives. But it's not very cool.
But it's so interesting because it really is a new industry, and it's something that's popped up. And I think in a lot of ways it's really great because it's turning the focus onto how, you know,
In theory, it's
different
fantastic.
individual women dress.
In practice,
you know.
it's exhausting. In theory, the idea of it, the diversity of it is great. But
I mean,
just when everybody gloms on, it's like, I just want to walk on the sidewalk.
Well, I think it popped up because it felt more relatable than looking at the runway, looking at models. You know, these are, you know, often teenagers that are 6 feet tall and yay big.
I know, they look so great in the leather
So
jacket.
I think seeing real, you know, seeing women with careers that are, you know, wearing clothes in their own way and putting things together in their own way, is and was, inspiring, which is how that industry kind of popped up.
I still look at my friends like that and go,
Yeah.
really? How did you get that dress I wanted? I want to be you right now. Anyway.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that there is like an element of like funny and ridiculous, as Christene was pointing out, and as Laura's story definitely illustrates as well, where it's like people, we have observed certain individuals who will go nameless, like changing their outfit 4 times during a day, and it's like at a certain point you're like, don't you have a job to do? Like, isn't there like something else to do with your time other than like multiplying on the amount of pictures you want to be taken of you? And I think that some of the dark side of that, which I would imagine, and I haven't met all of you individually, but I would assume that some of you are people who either work in fashion or would like to, is I think that when people are following individuals on social media who they, maybe they aspire to have a life like that or aspire to go to shows in Paris or do whatever those roles are, I think that the way that it looks on social media is really different than the reality of living it. And so there's like the ridiculous of it, but then I think there's also like a little bit of a dark side where I can promise you, I certainly don't even have like a fraction of Laura's followers, but I'll post pictures that I know are in no way an illustration of what my day was like, because maybe that day sucked, but I feel like it's my responsibility to make it look like it was like a big giant party where I was hanging out with Carl.
Having the best time ever.
But I don't think that anyone would necessarily follow someone on social media who was like morose and such a downer. It's more just like I almost like wish that there was some giant disclaimer over the world of street style and the fashion industry in general, like a big
this is not real
banner
life.
that's like, it's not actually like how this looks.
Or Street Style star X was preparing her outfit for 6 months.
Right.
While we were earning our money.
I mean, I think, in the book we did a mix of
real ladies you have.
Yeah, we purposefully chose a mix of women in all different industries and that are, in fashion, not in fashion, but who really felt confident and who had a really unique way of expressing themselves.
And have to dress for real lives, or teachers and mothers and, and doctors and people that, aren't necessarily in the fashion industry, but still want to, do cool things when they get dressed in the morning.
Yeah, we're always trying to find so funny in the magazines where it's like, so she's like, oh, we need a chic doctor. You know what I mean? So now I'm just going to go get your book.
Is there a chic doctor in the house?
A chic doctor in the house.
Laura's feeling ill.
I feel ill.
I want to actually direct this to Laura, is Harper's Bazaar is obviously, it's a historic legacy magazine. It's incredibly influential. It's beautiful. It's inspiring. They work with some of the best stylists and photographers in the world. But most of the stuff you feature is really expensive. No, it's challenging. I get a lot of inspiration from magazines like that and British Vogue. And, sometimes it does feel really unrealistic, to sort of peruse the sort of September issue and then feel like, how am I going to sort of, how am I going to be able to take that information and really make it work for me? Which is one of the reasons why in the book we wanted to kind of like show lots of different ways you could do tons of awesome stuff with things you have in your own closet. But how do you feel about that in terms of like those messages or that kind of,
To my sort of what I was saying earlier about how I borrow dresses, I can't afford half this damn stuff. I mean, of course not. I'm in publishing. But it informs your eye. You know what I mean? It makes you. I've been reading magazines since I was 9, and I would read the supermodels, and I always wanted a beat up leather jacket because they had, or jeans because they had, and it's just a way of thinking. It's like, and we try to we have pages which are lesser, and we love nothing more, and all of the editors are walking around going, oh my god, I got this. I mean, how many times Joe Hillman walks in and something and she's like, I got it from Zara. I'm like, oh, cool. I think that when you really understand fashion, you understand the nuances of fashion, and I think the least adventurous way to be in fashion is to spend all your money on that stuff. But if for next season, I'm stoked that the 70s is in, because I just love this stuff so much, and I can wear a stripy knit, and it's not a stripy knit, I can tell the difference, but and jeans, and that's cool, and I could get that from any vintage store. I could get that from H&M. I could, and as much as I want the Dries Van Noten full look, maybe I'll get a top, but I won't be able to get that. We all do. But it's just it's information. I think that I sort of underthink it and go, yes, that is not my budget. Also, this particular look might date itself in 6 months, but it makes a real pretty picture and it shows something that designers are thinking. And then you spend your money on the good pair of shoes and the good handbag, and the rest of the stuff you can kind of find.
Is that your formula? Is that your advice?
I just think that's, yeah. I mean, these are the things you're stomping around on them all day. Cheap. If you've got a cheap pair of shoes that lets you down and spend that amount of money, you can wear your jeans, you can wear a black pencil skirt, you can wear a great jacket, you can wear an awesome knit. I've gotten some of the best knits of my life from J. Crew or Uniqlo or great cashmere from there. Like there's just I have one of my best camel coats is like H&M and it was like $69. People always go Celine, they go, haha, no. So I think the way of navigating fashion is understanding that there's ways to look classic, there's ways to look cooler, and you don't have to invest your life savings, and it's not the coolest thing to do anyway.
Yeah. So true. I think, to Christine's point too, in the book, we really tried to show things like one piece, three ways, different ways. I think so much is, I walk into the office and I see, Christine wearing, a skirt over pants. And
modern,
or three coats at a time,
or
this
three
one's
coats
really good
over
with
each
layers.
other.
Look what's under there. You've got another thing under there.
I know, and I was really hot at the start, but I feel.
I know,
good
but look,
now,
you've got another bit. See that? There's a little one underneath.
It's really a shirt under a coat.
It's very exciting.
But I think
that radical.
You see something, and it's not just about going out and buying a whole new wardrobe. It really is about kind of getting creative with what's in your closet and kind of coming up with new combinations. I would love to hear, from...
Well, and one other thing, I just want to add on to it, is that one of the things that is a through line in the tone of how Christene and Piera made this book and how they... have all their editors create the stories on the site is that there is there's a friendliness and I'm on your team.
It's weird because they're not friendly
in the way that they
unfriendly.
Create their editorial, which is how they have been able to expand their brand past fashion into all these lifestyle categories, because it's about the attitude with which they and how they direct their ever-growing staff to speak to their readers. That is, as Preetma was saying, it's not prescriptive. It's more saying here are your options. We're your best friend. We're on your side. And that's what is when it comes to street style books or style websites. I think that some of the downfalls that other less successful sites have experienced is a tone that's either too salesy, which everyone at this point can smell a rat, or is overly prescriptive, and the way that they approach.
You should.
Yeah, and the way that they approach, it's what seems to me like everything that they touch is in a, I don't even know how to say it other than to say we're on your team, and that's kind of in a world of fashion where it can sometimes feel really exclusive. They make it so that it's we're all on the same level.
Inclusive.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's what we're trying to do.
Can I get one question quickly in for Preetma before we do the questions? So one of the things I really admire about Preetma is that she really doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks of what she wears. And it's literally such a revelation to see what she's wearing at different events, because it's so inspiring to me, because sometimes it's thrift, sometimes it's an emerging designer that no one's heard of yet, sometimes it's something from a sample sale. So, I would love to know a little bit about just what your, what kind of turns you on when you're getting dressed in the morning, and thinking about sort of throwing together these really kind of weird and very unexpected combinations, because you're kind of known for it now.
Well, it starts with something very practical. I mean, I look at the weather, look what I have to do. I mean, I have to be comfortable. I don't like feeling, I have to watch what I'm wearing, or, because I think that affects your confidence and how you live your life. I mean, I think it's most important to feel good about yourself. on the inside, and then
It never seems calculated to me. It always just
I
seems
hope
like you have
it's
like this
not.
sonar when you open up your closet.
I
in
mean,
the
that's really
morning.
how it is. I'm very like visceral person, and I like to be that way. Like whatever it is, whatever I like, whether it's music or fashion, I just want to have a gut response because that makes me happy. Like I don't want to think. I overthink everything. We live in New York. You have to think all the time. You have to be on the defensive. I just love things that give you like joy without having your brain involved. You know, it's just like in your stomach, in your heart. So that's really how I go about it. And, you know, if I get a new idea, I want to try it out, then maybe I'll pull something together that feels that way or get inspired by a certain person and I want to kind of inject some of that into myself. That's as much thought as I put into it, but it's really like I try to be spontaneous about it because I think that's the fun in it.
I have 30 seconds. Can I end with one thing? I would just love to know for everyone, like a speed round before we go to questions. Tell us the one thing that you absolutely have to have for fall, winter. Go.
I love
Cheap or expensive? Go.
I mean, if anybody ever wants to get this for me, the Christopher Kane like cable sweaters are like gorgeous, but they're insanely expensive.
Very fancy. Aya?
I'm really into that gigantic teddy bear Coach shearling number.
Is it faux or is it real?
It's a real shearling, but it's like a sleeping bag of a coat, and it's an American brand. So I'm
Patriot.
Yeah,
Patriot.
supporting.
Laura?
I really love from last season, with the last shows, the Gucci collection with the big pink and blue, like pale blue furs. Whistles.com has faux furs, if you're into fur or not, regardless, but they're really cool. And I got a pink one, and it's like, it was really reasonable. And my boss, Glenda, who's just appearing in my conversation a lot tonight, she looks at it and goes, oh, that's good. And she got a blue one. So we're going to be like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. But I'm just saying, you can't go Gucci, you can go Whistles.
Do you want to go, P?
You?
What's you?
Am I going?
Yeah, come on.
Do it quick.
What do you want for fall?
I want a leopard print coat.
Damn right. Can you tell me? Because I'm trying to get a good one too.
I don't know
Rachel
where I
Comey.
should get it from.
Rachel Comey has an
Rachel
amazing
Comey, okay.
faux fur leopard coat on her site right now.
So it is
Excellent.
Aritzia, and it's
Yes.
super cheap.
See?
Perfect. Look at this.
Look at us. Okay, so
I'm
go
gonna
and
get
buy
on my
coats.
phone
Jump
and
in.
buy it right
If
now.
you're not
Okay.
buying coats right now, do one on your phone while we're talking. We don't care.
Okay. So we'd love to take your questions now if you have any.
Thanks, everyone, for coming out. I just always had a question in the back of my mind. Who actually, I know there's different countries involved in terms of trend setting and in Europe and everything as far as influences on America and even America and other countries. Who is really behind the trends, like whether like flannels coming back in or whether this or that? Who is behind it, and is there a shift that you see taking place as far as who's behind really that trend?
We always wonder, like, when we're seeing, like, the shows, like, everyone got the memo. It's like all of a sudden it's like pink or there's orange. And I always wonder if it's like this sort of like underground, sort of secret society that's like telling them shears. But
The collective unconscious.
I think everything's an antidote to the season before as well. So if they're going to be like, "I did great," then I'm feeling optimistic. But it's like that great monologue that Meryl Streep does in Devil Wears Prada about the cerulean blue sweater. You know what I mean? You don't know that in one day that was the fabric at the mill, and the designer got that, and he turned it into this, and then it all filtered down. You know what I mean? I think that's sort of, and also, but the designers look at people on the street. But they all sort of, it is really like this like equal and opposite reaction. It's like they've done this, and they've also got to prove that they're moving along. So they moved from the 60s to the 70s. God bless them.
Hi. So being in New York, we all have either really tiny closets or no closets. What do your closets kind of look like, or how do you deal with like seasonal swap outs, or like, like sometimes I'd like have to hold back from buying because I'm like I just don't have space.
Oh dear
This
God.
is Christine's
Yeah. I
question.
moved to New
I
Jersey.
say I need to take this so bad. I am a
all you.
sort of compulsive purger of my closet because I'm like you. I have a really small closet, and I'm in the process of renovating a new apartment trying on the cheap. Exactly, for my closet. And I have this opportunity to design my closet, even though this one's not that much bigger than my current one. And I think it's like an enormous challenge, especially if you want to be able to access things, you want to be able to see everything. I don't believe in shoeboxes because as soon as something's like stored away, it's like it ceases to exist to me. It's like sometimes if I pull it out, unless it's like an off-season thing, which I think that's really the trick, is to really sort of have your sort of off-season stuff packed in a place where you don't have to worry about it, you don't need it right now. But I do think that having less is more, purging is so important, and I think that it really does hold you back in life, not even just in your pursuit of your own personal styles. Like the more crap that you have in your closet, it makes it absolutely impossible to figure out like who you are, what you want to wear, what looks good on you, and you really should like narrow it down to only the stuff in your closet that you know when you try on in front of your girlfriends, it makes you feel amazing. And
I love that you are a purger.
Oh yeah,
I went to Beacons this weekend to sell stuff, and I actually bought what I'm wearing there, but I used the credit.
You just
I didn't
replaced
take
it?
the cash, but I went there, and the girl that was going through
Did
my
she
stuff
know
was
me?
like, "You work with Christene Barberich. She comes here all the time."
I purge there too. I love that you're a closet purger, and I love your question. One of the things that I like to do, and in working in fashion, we are all about like a million rolling racks. So I have an extra rolling rack that I keep under my bed at home. And once a season, I take out my rolling rack, I get everything out from my closet, and this is like a weird thing that I probably shouldn't be saying in public, but like I bring over a friend who's another stylist, and I take everything out
there
of the
alcohol
closet.
involved?
No, but it should
Really?
be.
Should
be.
I put it on the rack, and I shop as if I'm buying it again. Do you know what I mean?
That's brilliant.
So like I take out all the stacks of T-shirts, all the hanging things, and I arrange it on the rack as if
you should do that when you go home or
as
this
if it's
weekend.
new,
That's your
because
assignment.
I feel
Literally
like when
shopping
it's
your closet.
buried in the closet, it's kind of like when you move. When you move, you're like, "What's this?" Right? You're
like renewing
"What
your
are all
vows."
these things? I could have gotten rid of this 5 years ago." But if you reshop all of those things again, you kind of learn a little bit about what's not working, and you can get rid of it, buy more awesome other things, or kind of reduce the clutter.
Also, life is editing. As I've realized, I am an editor, but you sort of in life you choose what you like and don't choose what you don't like. And if you just look at that, like I'm an editor, I'm going to edit my closet, and I find my closet as a metaphor for my life. It's like my closet's in control, my life's in control. Like when my
agree with
closet's
you.
messed up, I'm like, I'm a disaster, you know. And then I just disappear for a week and cry. No, but you know what I mean. So just go purge. Do it now. Why are you still sitting
I
there?
would add one thing to that. You have to try everything on. I think there's this like a lot of times we romanticize things in our closets. Like I love having that dress there, but you can't remember the last time you actually tried it on. You have no idea how it looks on you, and then finally when you put it on, you're like, I can't believe I've been holding on to this for as long as I have, and it's just like such a waste. So try everything.
That's
on.
when the booze comes in. You should definitely do with
It's true.
booze. Yeah.
It's true. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Tanya. I just want to let you guys know that you guys are fabulous, all of you. I'm so
Thanks,
excited to attend this
Tanya.
panel talk. So my question is, there's amazing street style happening in the emerging markets, especially like Lagos, Sao Paulo, Dubai, Bombay. So do you think the idea of wearing ethnically driven clothing, like wearing a sari over a blazer, or tunic over jeans, will happen at like the major fashion weeks? And
Oh yeah, well, it's influencing the prints so much. That's what I mean. Lately, last a couple of seasons ago now. No, it's so funny because there's a Lagos Fashion Week, and I think if Mickey Boardman went there, a few people, and I've always wanted to go. My friend Justin
Kazakhstan.
O'Shea from My Teresa went. It's freaking awesome. You know what I mean? And I think that the first way, but I think a lot of those prints are really in that. And Suno, for example, which uses, works with, that's Christine's jacket, works with those fabrics. I think that's the way, firstly, it's going to come. And I think it's going to be more and more and more. And it's so refreshing. And there's such heart in it. You know what I mean? And I think that, bigger and bigger. And we need something new to look at, so all for it. Yeah.
We should auction off the questions.
I'm auctioning
Hi.
off you.
When you talked about making fashion more inclusive than exclusive, is there anyone in the market that you think, as far as brands, are doing that right now? And how do you maintain that?
You mean designers or like, Zara's or things like that?
Both.
Price point, or just in terms of their liking people?
I mean, I love Rachel Comey just because she's able to kind of draw from, you really look at her clothes and you kind of see her in them. and I feel like they're incredibly wearable, but they always make me feel just a little bit extra special. And she just is kind of fearless when it comes to like playing around with patterns and textures, and some of her stuff doesn't seem to make sense, but you try it on and it just does. So I think she's someone that really speaks to a consumer that really wants to kind of play around and explore their personal style a little bit more. That would be my suggestion.
I really like designers with some soul, and it sounds sort of cheesy, but sometimes I find some of the coolest designers, that we're all supposed to go to at Fashion Week, and I don't feel anything in their clothes. And this is not a price point thing because it's expensive, but Albert at Lanvin, like he actually always says, I hate the word cool. I'm so uncool. I love being uncool. And the women he dresses, and sure, they can afford, this is again not a price thing, but they're bigger and smaller, and they're doctors and they're lawyers and they're housewives, and he has such a diversity of women that he dresses for, and he loves women and he loves people. And I think you can tell that in the clothes. So that's who I love.
That's how I feel about Dries Van Noten.
Yeah, Dries.
I feel like
hang on, what all fashion girls say? We all go Dries.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
If he was straight, I would marry him.
I held
Or
hands
adopt
with.
me. I don't know. I just love Dries, but I feel that way. It's depending on who puts it on, it just looks completely different, but it fits almost every personality, age, skin color, whatever it is. It just like seems to work, and obviously it's on the higher price point. But
he's like
I just love that.
No, totally. I didn't mean to
He
interrupt
gives
you
to
because
women.
I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
Dries, but he's like completely in control of his company, and I feel like you can tell
That
like all of
too.
his stuff is produced in Belgium, or most of it's in Belgium. But I'd literally this past Fashion Week was the first time I went to a Dries show, and I was literally sitting next this woman who I just met. And we were holding hands during the show. I was like trembling with excitement because it was so amazing, and it really fulfilled all of my dreams. It was incredible.
And more.
And more and more.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing, that he also runs his company, quite ethically, and he's in control of it, because you can get that soul, like that's part of the designs, and that's why I think there's that human connection with any kind of woman or man. If you're buying the men's collections, it's real. It's not it's not a private equity group trying to like maximize profits. It's a real designer.
There's a lot of that.
Loves what he does. So.
I have 3 questions, but I'll just...
You cheeky monkey.
Do you want one or
Sneaky.
2? Okay, I'll start with one. It's quite... Okay, how do you pick your next upcoming designer to talk about? Do you actually... Do you go by publicists who keeps sending stuff to you and drumming it into your ear, or do you go out and hunt for them?
Those are usually
and
the
how
ones
do
we
you
don't go
pick
to.
them? How do you pick
You don't
them?
want to be bombarded by anything.
Yeah,
you normally
that's right.
hear. It's so grapeviney too. It's like, I remember actually Prabal. I think we were the first magazine to feature Prabal. Somebody had been down there like, oh my God, you should see this like red, amazing collection this guy's done. We talk a lot to each other. You know what I mean? The least appealing pitch, the least appealing way to find a designer is through a PR just blasting you with stuff because you're like, I'm really busy.
Exactly.
Like, for example, I just went this morning to see, and I hadn't met him before, Del Pozo, Josep Font, who's a Spanish designer who has the most exquisite clothes. He was actually trained as an architect, he did couture, and it's just, I haven't seen anything like that in a long time, but I heard about that because I would see somebody wearing a dress at a party, and then I went to one of the shows, and I went to the show just this season, and I was like, I'd missed a couple, and I was like, oh my God, I want to go and meet this guy, and he's the most adorable guy. Went down there in the rain, soggy pants, and he was talking me through this stuff, and I was like, this is glorious, and it's because he turned something on in my mind, and everybody at work who's seen a lot of stuff, we're all like, oh my God, did you see what he did with the shells on the... And that's where you find
but people seem to think that they need to go through a publicist to get out there. So
I mean, it helps sometimes, but not if you don't have the raw stuff. There's no point,
Yeah, and it's the second question is listening to you guys speak. It's quite. Are
you Australian?
I'm Australian.
Hi. Yeah. How's it going?
And I'm a couturier, and I'm quite established in Sydney. But I'm in New York because I'm a New York resident as well, and I don't find enough time to be here. So it was when I heard about the event, I just said, yes, I'm in there. But the thing is, it's really quite lovely to see how simple and normal you guys are, because, you're fashion directors, and you have this image of fashion directors as being very, like a lot of attitude. and to think that you were saying that you can't afford like amazing ball gowns and stuff, and you would think that designers would throw stuff at you.
Oh, they do. I'm exhausted by it.
You just don't wear them.
I've got a bag of stuff back there. No, I mean, look, the longer you work, you obviously, after a while. I remember once I had an assistant. It was a couple of years ago, and she was like quite a fluffy, pretty, poshy girl, and somebody sent me a dress, like Calvin Klein dress or something, and she said, "Oh my God, you're so lucky that you got that dress." And I sort of turned around and kind of ate her face. I was like, I've been working in magazines 18 years. I better get a free dress by now. But, it's like you get that because sometimes if you work really hard, it's like anybody. If you're a dentist, if you don't do teeth right, or if you're a doctor, or this is my job. And if I work with people and I put clothes on people and I put clothes on celebrities sometimes, so I'm gonna occasionally get a dress because I've worked 20 years now, and I'm occasionally gonna talk to a celebrity because it's my job. So I think that's everything becomes a job, and I think a lot of the preciousness of fashion comes out of it because we are looking at clothes on a rack, and they're beautiful clothes and amazing clothes, but we're making the dream from those clothes. But sometimes you're like, oh, it's just a lot of clothes, and it gets a little desensitized in a way. We still look at a Dries show and go, oh my God, but when you're doing a couture shoot and all the dresses are shoved on there, it's like it's your job, yeah.
It's the job.
I knew the Aussie would have 3 questions. So cheeky.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Don't forget to buy style stuff. First of all, we want to thank the Apple Store for having us, and thank all of you guys for coming out tonight. It really means a lot. And yeah, so Christene and I wrote a book. It came out yesterday. We're really excited.
It's a book with words in it.
It has words in it and pictures.
I have to move my chair because I can't see anybody. I'm sorry. There we go.
Can you see?
You're blinded by the glory.
That's good. Sorry.
Yeah, so when we, when Christene and I started Refinery29 with our partners, Philip and Justin, we felt like the voice of fashion was very prescriptive. It was very top-down, and we knew from our own experience that, style was an evolution and really about self-expression, and the two of us have gone through so many different iterations of how we dress and, made some questionable choices in the meantime, and are definitely,
Some more embarrassing than others.
And definitely feel like it's been, a journey and something that has gone through different phases and has been also a journey of kind of finding ourselves in self-expression. So when we started the site, we really wanted to take a much more conversational tone and talk about, personal style and expression and having fun with fashion. So that's really why we decided to create this book. And, a lot of what inspired us too was the women that we met along the way, different people in the industry. Yeah, these guys. Different people in the industry who were really fearless and kind of challenged the conventions with how they dressed and the way that they talked about style. And that's why we chose these guys. They're all incredible luminaries within the industry, but also people that are in this book.
We have jobs.
And on the cover. And on the cover of the book.
We have a cover star in our midst.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
First and only time.
So the other thing we wanted to talk about too is the root of the book is really wanting to create a really comprehensive resource for great outfit ideas, because obviously all of us face innumerable getting dressed challenges every day, whether it's just for work or an interview or a rainy, crappy day like it is today, let alone these really fancy occasions where we really have to kind of turn it up.
Bring it.
Yeah, exactly, bring it. So I would love to start with Laura.
Hi, honey.
Hi. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm working this new hot look, by the way. It's called the soggy trouser. You can take the sogginess almost, a half a foot up your pants if you really work it. So that's my tip.
Dragging around racks of clothes, you're handling armfuls of shoes and accessories, and you can't be too prissy. I don't know, that's not the right word,
precious.
But you can't be too precious about it. And if anyone that is assisting me shows up wearing heels, they will not be working with me again, mainly just because it requires being a little bit more mobile than one might imagine. And then, I don't know, I don't go to as many black tie events maybe as you, so I don't have a black tie
I try not to go to many.
Well, one of the things I wanted to just sort of ask Preetma too. Is Preetma's on the cover of our book. We have had the pleasure of, sort of knowing Preetma for a while. And what's exciting about her, too, is that, we met her at an event. At the time, she was an attorney. And obviously, we got to know each other. And she really had a passion for, for fashion and style and expressing herself through what she was wearing. And, it was a real conflict for her in her former job. And she really wanted to break into fashion. And I think that what's so exciting about her, too, is that, moving into the fashion industry is kind of like unleash this whole transformation in you. Like, she is no longer a lawyer. She's now the market director at Nylon Magazine. She has so you're the executive editor of Harper's Bazaar.
Yeah.
Obviously, a certain kind of expectation comes from that in terms of dressing the part. You have a lot of events that you go to. Your Instagram, which is
exhausting.
It seems a little exhausting, but what are some of the basic challenges that you face every morning when you're thinking about getting dressed?
I think when you've worked in magazines for a long time, I think you guys will understand this. There's this sort of understanding that you have an understanding, if that makes sense. Like, I could wear jeans every day, you know what I mean? But it's I'm going to wear jeans with like a certain heel, or I'm going to wear like a cool sweatshirt, or all that sort of stuff. So there's sort of a given references that we all look at in our business, So if you're going to wear your jeans, it's going to be hopefully in a sort of artful fashion. So my go-to is, if I could wear this every day, I would wear jeans and a sweatshirt every day. But we have to go to events and do black tie, and then I borrow things from people, which is, I always say this, it's a myth that fashion people just get given all these clothes and can buy all these clothes. We borrow. Thank God we have friends. And we sort of, you go and you're kind of fashion dragged to these sort of things. I don't dress like that day to day. There's girls that do dresses and skirts better than I ever will. So my challenge, I guess, is, I've been at my job long enough that you earn also, I think, a certain sense of command, and you also settle into your style. So this is sort of my jam, and I stick to it. But if I have to go to an event, that's when I'm always like, oh, God. So that's the thing. And other girls, it'd be so easy to wear like a nice dress, and jeans are a challenge. So that's my thing.
Hi, guys. I'm Aya, and I would say I have different uniforms for the different scenarios that I find myself getting involved in based on my job. Normally, if I'm going to a client meeting where I need to not show up like a wet dog, I usually try to keep it together and make sure that I look really professional and clean, and normally I'm wearing black. I would say when I'm on set doing photo shoots, which is a big part of my working life, whether it's with celebrity cover shoots or fashion stories, I'll be dressed like this in the most comfortable way possible, because
you can't do a cover shoot in heels.
Exactly.
You can't.
Being a stylist is a really physically demanding job. You are,